Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX, and again on Saturday morning at 9 on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Terry Slavens to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Good morning, magnificent Monday morning.
That is right.
It's all about what you make it, right?
Yes, it is. We have a great topic to go with that on Life Planning 101. Money well spent or saved. And there's a great corresponding article with this. You can tap into it at katxradio.com, kwbyradio.com, or just subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get it every week. It's weekly life lessons that comes out, and you can send us an email at kennedy-financial.com to be able to do that. Oh. And there's lots of things. Market report. We give recipes out every week. Updates in the industry. Weekly life lesson article. The radio show, you can actually tap into it from there. So really good stuff. But we've got a really, really good topic this morning because I'm finding this is a lot of people. A lot of people for the last several years have just been stockpiling cash. And they come to us and say, well, I've got all this cash. I'm not sure what to do with it.
I don't really want to let it go.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You know, because 2008 really, even though it was 9 years ago, it felt like it was yesterday. And we all remember that feeling of cash is king. Exactly. And to add pain to misery, our interest rate environment is frustrating, to say the least, because if you go try to take out a CD or put money in a savings account, you're earning squat diddly nothing, right?
0.08%.
That's exactly right. And, you know, the Fed's not going to raise rates fast enough to make this attractive. I've actually seen some advertisements out there, and I've clicked on them to see what they're doing. Yeah, It's still the same stuff, even though say Fed's raising rates. Don't get locked into something now, I'm telling you. In fact, we were talking about this last week in our office with my brother, the CFA, and he said, you know, by the end of the year, things should start to look better. But right now, we're really between a rock and a hard place. And the reason we are is because, you know, the cost of living is still going up. Every year. And when you go to that grocery store, do you spend less or more money every time you go in, right?
Every year. I feel like we talked about inflation before.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So, you know, when you have cash, when you have excess cash, now I'm talking your emergency savings. I'm not talking the things that you need to live by, but you have the excess cash and you're not doing anything with it, you really are doing something with it. And you're losing money. Because if you think about it, if that cost of inflation, we've talked about this, 4%, and you're earning zero, it's a negative 4% return annually. That's pretty powerful.
I never thought of it that way.
Yes. And so, you know, most people think, well, if that's the case, I've only got two options right now. I either take more risk, and a lot of people have done that. That's why we saw such the influx in dividend-paying stocks. Everybody's going to buy Walmart or Exxon or, you know, these big companies that pay these solid dividends, right? But you take risk because you're a stock owner when you do that. And if that company becomes the next Enron, what just happened to your stock?
It's gone.
It's gone, right? So you can do that, but you take more risk doing it. And then the second thing that people say, well, the other option I have is just to spend it. Well, we have some other ideas for you. And that's what today's show is about.
Yes. Or saved.
That's right. Money well spent or saved. So we've got some other options for you that don't necessarily talk about these two commonly thought options. They're a little bit more depth than that. And there's 5 of them. And I'm really excited to be able to share these with you today because I know this is something on a lot of people's mind of, you know, hey, I have this cash. I don't know what to do with it. You know, is the market at an all-time high? Are things too risky? Interest rates are in the dumps. I don't want to invest in bonds, especially when they're just about to go down, right, in price. So what's the point of doing this? So that's where we are today, and you don't want to miss these. We're going to be talking about giving money away. We're going to be talking about saving more money for your future. We're going to be talking about taking advantage of this weird environment that we're in today to actually use it for a resource for you and the actual best investment that you can make during this time. You don't want to miss it when we come back.
No, you don't. Stay tuned. Quick break right here on KATX and KWBY. Welcome back in. Excuse me there. Life Planning 101 right here on KATX, KWBY. Angela Robinson in the house.
Yes, and we're talking about money well spent or saved, right? Mm-hmm. And we've got a lot of people that have been earning nothing on cash, and they want to know what to do with that cash. And we kind of talked about that before the break, that really there's not a lot of options out there without taking more risk or just spending it. And so what we did was we came up with really 5 great options to do something with. 5 great options to do something with your cash. And the first of these I'm real excited to talk about. So very seldom are low interest rates favorable, but in this case, they are actually working to your advantage. So there is a charitable tool, investment tool, that you can use where you can actually put money into this tool. You immediately get a 70 to 75% write-off on your taxes. So example, I'm going to use example numbers. $100,000 in, that'd be a $75,000 write-off on your taxes. Be pretty big, right?
Yeah, not bad.
But here's the best part about it. You get to determine how the funds are invested inside of this investment tool. And any capital gains or interest that those investment earns, it comes back out to you in full. Okay?
Yeah.
Great. If it's set up right, you can actually set this up to go for 2 generations, not only you and your spouse, but also your children, where they would receive the interest and the capital gains for lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay. Very, very neat tool. So in essence, okay, over time, you could actually receive more out of what you put into that investment tool through your lifetime. And then the cool thing is whatever's left at the end ends up going to that charity of choice that you've chosen. So really, really neat.
That is very neat.
It doesn't work in a high interest rate environment. What makes it so attractive is they actually use the income tax deduction is determined based on interest rates, current interest rates. So
if it's a higher interest rate, you're not going to get as big of a deduction.
That's correct. Gotcha. So it's a very powerful tool to use with this low interest rate environment, and you get the best of both worlds, right? You get to, create investments, and of course, your investments are at your risk, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd highly recommend working with someone that kind of knows what they're doing in that respect. But if it's set up appropriately and managed appropriately, you're going to get more bang for your buck out of that than you ever could think of in a CD. Pretty neat. Okay, so that's really neat. And while we're on the topic of gifting, what about your children and your grandchildren's education? Okay, here's 2 different ways that maybe you can help. And here's the thing. Tuition, historically, and we had a show not too long ago, we talked about this. We've experienced close to an 8% annualized increase in college costs.
I remember that show.
Yeah, 8%. 8%! That's crazy, right? So why take the risk with the 529 investment or your other investments with an 8% targeted return? That'd take a long time to be able to make that up. Would you agree? Okay. So especially with the volatilities in the market. So think about purchasing prepaid tuition. What if you purchased in today's dollars and then you're guaranteed that step up? Now, you've got some risks that go along with that. Your kid's going to go to a state school, or they're going to go to a private school. You might have that cost of transfer, or your kid's going to go out of state. You see a lot of people doing that. So there's going to be some things to weigh in on there, but it's definitely a way to be able to keep up with that cost of living adjustment or cost, that increased inflation inside the schools. Or what about lending? If you've got grandkids that have current student loans, okay, right now they're paying somewhere between 5 and 6%. On those student loans, 5 and 6% in an interest rate environment where you go get a home loan for 3.5%. What? On a student loan, right? So this could be a win-win situation. Think about lending them the money to pay off that loan. You get a higher interest rate than you would in the bank at 0.001%, and everybody wins.
Yeah.
Right? Risk involved. I always say buyer beware when it comes to intra-family loans.
Yeah,
because
always.
It is intra-family loans, but if you have a comfort level with an individual in your family, this may be a great place to put your money because it helps the overall health and wealth of your family, not just you,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
really, really good. When we come back, we've got 3 more, including the best investment you could possibly make. You don't want to miss this.
Oh, welcome back into Life Planning 101 right here on KATX and KWBY. We've got Ms. Angela Robinson talking about money.
That's right. And you had a great question during the break. You asked about where do you find prepaid tuition units?
Yes.
And here in Texas, you go on to Texas Tuition Promise Fund, and you can go on and actually purchase those units. And they have a little conversion calculator and everything else in there. So really, really good to be able to look at and take advantage of with today's dollars. But we got 3 more, so I don't want to run out of time here because there's a lot. First and foremost out of these 3 is, take care of the I've been meaning to list. We all have one, right? Have you?
Yeah.
Do you need to
Is
go?
that also known as a bucket list?
Yeah.
Or kind of.
kind of. Do you need to go get your estate planning done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've been meaning to do that.
right, exactly. I've been meaning to do
That's
that
a good
list.
name for that list.
I've been meaning to do that list, right? And think about it this way. Today's dollars are always cheaper than tomorrow's dollars. So is it going to cost you more money or less money in the future if you wait? Well, if you really wait, it's going to cost
A
your family a
lot
lot
more.
of money.
Yeah.
But if you just wait a few years, you've got that cost of living. So if you've got that cash, use it, right? To be able to take care of these things that you need to take care of, such as your estate plan or your financial plan, making sure, we've talked a lot about this year about the longevity risks and making sure that you have your longevity plan in place. Spend the money that you need to spend to get all of that put together. It's a great time to do that because, if you think about it, if you're going to earn a negative 4% on your money this year, or you can put your money working towards something that positions you to secure your future, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely worth it. A family retreat. We encourage this a lot with people that have wealth. And they need to pass on that wealth to the next generation. And, there needs to be conversations and there needs to be things that happen. And having that family retreat and bringing in that advisor, that mediator to have that retreat is very, very important. Well spent. If you think about it, is it important to you that your kids just don't get a lump sum of money and go spend it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people it is. Well, it may be worth that investment to do that, and I was reading a book this morning and it's a great book. It's a wonderful book. It's written by a gentleman that was in sports broadcasting for years, and he interviewed athletes, world-class athletes, and the book is called Greatness. And the thing that was most interesting to me is he talked in there about what we all know, that if you surround yourself with people who are great, you eventually become great because you start thinking like them, right? So taking this to the next level, do you need to be changing your scenery around you? Do you need to be going to coaching groups? Do you need to be investing in yourself? Today's dollars are always going to be cheaper than tomorrow's. Use your money wisely to help your future potential, right? So those are all good things to be thinking about. Or what about just paying for inflation outright? So we had this couple a couple weeks ago. They had a stash of cash, and we were able to reposition that stash of cash. They had no long-term care, meaning if they needed home health care, if they need long-term care, they needed to have something set up for them. And so we were able to take their stash of cash, move it to another place, and it was still 100% accessible to them as it was in that savings account. But now it's in a position to keep up with inflation for future potential long-term care costs. If they never need to use it, guess what they can do? Pull their stash of cash back.
Yeah.
But if they do need it, it was there set aside. I often ask this question to people, if you were to need home health care suddenly today, where would be the first place that you're going to go after $6,000 a month to get it? Probably that stash of cash, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if your cost of care was $6,000 a month, where are you going to go find that money? And most people say, well, I've got this set aside. They'll start telling me where they've got it set aside, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the thing is, why don't you put that set aside today? Because can you really keep up with the cost of health care going up and up and up every year? I remember writing articles when we were talking about long-term care being $3,000 a month. And now we're talking about $6,000 a month.
Double.
good gracious, this is just ridiculous. So, having your cake and eating it too, wouldn't that be a great story? And if you have the availability to do it, you can do it. And this is how you can do it. So, why not go ahead and pay for that future inflation by using your dollars, but not losing access to those dollars?
That's a pretty good combination.
Yes, it's a very good combination. So people, and if people don't always understand that just because you're paying for something doesn't mean that you lose it. You need to know what your options are. Half of the things that we don't do in life, we don't do because we don't know what we don't know. And we're scared of them. We don't understand them. And if we just understood or saw things in a different light, we may make better decisions. We may make different decisions. My dad has a saying, we'll never change our minds based on what we know. Would you agree with that? You'll never change your mind based on what you already know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But if I gave you new information, could you change your mind? Possibly, right? Yeah. So learn, make yourself aware of what's out there. And the best place to be able to do that is with your life planner, sitting down with him and going through your entire picture and seeing where your holes are to fill and to use that stash of cash, right? And like I said, I am not going to deny you the most important of all 5 of these. Okay, so we've talked about a charitable investment that gives you 75% write-off and gets you back your potential or your capital gains and your interest coming back to you for your life or for the life of you and your children.
Carries 2 generations.
Right? We've talked about prepaid tuition and, being able to use that for paying for that kid or that grandkid in today's dollars. We've talked about helping them with their student loans. Yeah, risky, but it could help both parties, right? If you're able to earn 3% where you were earning 0 and they're able to save 3% on their student loans, it helps the overall family picture.
Yeah.
Even if it's mom and dad that you're helping out for the grandkids, that might be a little more stable of a lending environment. I'm not sure. So, but just make sure if you are doing that, okay, and this is the key, that you are working with an estate planning attorney on this. And the reason I say that is you need to be careful that you're not ending up using up gifting. And that's very important because that could affect you because of gift tax. Remember that. It's a 50% tax rate. Okay, so be very conscientious of that. You don't want that to happen. Okay, very, very important. In fact, we ran across a situation a couple weeks ago. We had a gentleman had a $300,000 handshake deal with his dad, and both of them have estate tax problems. And so, going back and trying to clean that up and has been an absolute nightmare because when his dad gave him the money, it would have incurred a 50% penalty then, gift tax then. And then when he repaid his dad, it would have incurred a 50% gift tax the other way around. Yes.
So you've got as much tied up in taxes as was exchanged, basically.
That's right. So, or 75% of it. Yeah. So it's really, really ridiculous, from that perspective. And a lot of people try to do the job alone, as we call it. Don't try to do the job alone. It's not worth it. Had another couple I was working with on a project, just tried to go do this and get this professional rather than asking questions or saying, hey, would you have a resource for this or whatever, trying to do the job alone. Never works. And they ended up just saying, throwing their hands up, I'm not going to do it. Because it is overcomplicated, right? But if you have professionals being able to help you and say, okay, this is step 1, 2, 3, 4, be open to that. Let them help you. Let them guide you and coach you. Okay, it's very important. So we've talked about that. We've talked about taking care of that. I've been meaning to do that list. Really important. Those financial plans, the estate plans, retreats, your business succession plan, some heavy tax planning for the future might be another option. You could probably save a lot. And remember, today's dollars are always cheaper than tomorrow's. So using it for that. Or what about that stash of cash for paying for inflation, as we just discussed? Okay. And here's last but not least, as I promised, the best investment that you can make. I had someone in my life once tell me that you should spend your money on 2 things: other people and experiences. They said, when you spend your money on stuff, it's just stuff. And the joy of stuff goes away. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that,
You get a new car. And how
it's
long
only
before
new for a few months?
That's right. And then the excitement wears off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me throw something at you. Travel is cheap today. Extremely cheap. You can go to other countries for under $500 a flight right now. I've seen flights to Australia around $1,000 right now.
That's insane.
It is insane.
Insanely cheap.
Yeah, insanely cheap. And it's because of these low oil prices. Mm-hmm. They're not always going to be there, especially if we have, guess what? Inflation, right? So what about that stash of cash, using it for that bucket list to spend time with the people you would spend time with and cherish the most? You know, we've asked that question before. If you're looking back on your life, what do you not want to regret? Do you not want to regret taking your family on that once-in-a-lifetime family vacation you've always wanted to do?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the best investment you can make.
It's a good one. That's
right?
for sure.
Yes. So, making sure that you look at that bucket list. We had that list for I've been meaning to do that, but this is your true bucket list. Mm-hmm. The people that you love the most and the experiences, the memories that you'll be able to cherish and carry with you, right? So the bottom line of all this is don't let 2017 go by, because if you're waiting on interest rates, you've let 2017 go by. We've got a full year of interest rates probably not doing a whole lot. They're going to ratchet up a little bit, but you're not going to see that in your CD rates, and you're not going to see it in your savings rates, nothing like that. So, don't let it go by without spending or saving that stash of cash and earning absolutely nothing. Do something, right? Do one of these 5 things that we talked about. And by the way, we've got more information on this. Again, you can email us at lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com if you have questions. Get on and read our article, katxradio.com, kwbyradio.com, or subscribe to our newsletter at kennedy-financial.com. My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services here in Eastland, Texas. I hope everyone has a great week, and God bless.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX, and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Carlton & Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated is an independent of Carlton & Associates Incorporated and Smart Money Group, LLC.